Denver City Attorney is asking about a dozen of the mayor's appointees and confidants to turn over their phone records. She wants to find out who leaked information about the termination of the DIA renovation contracts. CBS 4 was the recipient of the leaked information, but only reported on it after the administration's press conference. Eric, how to make a bad problem worse, 101, brought to you by the mayor's office this week. Your reaction?
I think you said it. I think you said it well, Dominic. I've been through DIA a few times recently. I suspect most of us have. The place is a whole right now. It's not functioning all that well. Not to mention the construction zone, which is semi-inactive as we speak. Of all the problems facing DIA, I think ascertaining who leaked some emails or whatever might be a little bit lower on my list than actually dealing with the core problem. Kristen Bronson, the city attorney, I don't know her. She has a good reputation around town. People applauded the hire when Michael Hancock made it. But, this reeks of Nixon and plumbers, and it just doesn't end up anywhere good. And even if you fess out, the person who leaked this, I believe, to Brian Moss over at Channel 4, so what then? Deal with the core issue.
Ed, the fact that this was leaked right before the administration was going to be talking about it, it didn't seem like this wasn't deep throat in a parking lot talking to Brian Moss here. So what do you expect from the fallout from these headlines we saw this week?
I mean, the fact is very few things are not leaked before a government is ready for, whether it be the state or the city or others. So we're in this profession. We're in this profession to find information. And so, I mean, Brian Moss was just doing his job and apparently did it well. I expect exactly what Eric said. I think people are going to look at this and say, seriously, this is what you're concentrating on? I think the city may have been a little misguided in the fact that it got a lot of applause because it investigated and stopped the expansion of the convention center because of leaks from somebody that compromised the bidding process. This is not a compromise of the bidding process. This is public information getting out before the mayor wanted it to get out. I would advise they work in a different area right now.
Patty, you edit Westward. You're faced with this kind of Freedom of Information Act kind of stuff all the time, and connections and leakers maybe coming to the press. How should the mayor's office handle this?
They should have said, we don't do this. We do not go after sources of information. It's not like this story jeopardized the mess that's already at the airport. Jane Doe coming in from Des Moines could have called up Brian Moss and said, hey, there's something wrong at that airport. I mean, we've all been there all summer. It was a nightmare the whole way it came down. We also have our issues with even the design that was approved in the first place. So shame on the city for doing this. Shame on them for going after it. Love it that Brian Moss was also able to report the investigation first. So good for him on that. You don't go after the leakers in a case like this when they are putting out information that's going to come out later anyway.
David, wrap it up for us. Do you think the leaker investigation will go forward after the reaction we've seen?
Yes, and let me be the lone one, I guess, here to stand up for the mayor and the city attorney's office.
I hope they're sitting down.
They have a legal obligation to the airport bondholders. And if I were holding a bunch of airport bonds, I'd be a very nervous fellow these days anyway, for all the reasons. It's a complete fiasco, disaster. It's going to make the airport worse even when it's finished, if ever. But they have an obligation to the bondholders that the bondholders find out first, or certainly not second. And so when they make a decision on one day and they're going to announce it on the next day, it's their legal obligation that the media or anybody else doesn't find out before the bondholders does. So I think they're properly fulfilling their legal obligations in this complete fiasco, but at least they're doing right by the bondholders in that regard.
There's a border wall in Colorado. Ed Sealiver quotes the Polk administration, and David Cope will just defend the city of Denver. We are living in the upside down, people. I'm just saying.